Welcome to Leading with Curiosity. Command and control leadership is dead. We interview leaders, entrepreneurs, and executive coaches challenging old paradigms and fostering cutting-edge leadership. Here's your host, Certified Executive Coach, Nate Leslie.
Hey listeners, my episode today was a lot of fun, just like all the others, but my guest, Donna Peters, an ICF Certified Coach, who I tracked down when I was checking out her post on speaking at the International Coach Federation Converge conference, a global conference for executive coaches. She spent 20 years as a management consultant. She's from Atlanta, Georgia. We explore the difference between consulting and coaching, between therapy and coaching, the big moments in people's lives where coaching can and has played a role, what it is, what it isn't, more about her own podcast. She's an award-winning podcast host, and it was just a lot of fun. She's from the Me Suite, a play on words, approaching life like a C-suite. A C-level executive runs an organization. We need to manage our lives and care about ourselves in the same kind of way. It was a ton of fun. At one point, it even flips where suddenly I realized I'm being interviewed, which was just awesome. We explored a whole bunch here, and I hope you enjoy it as I did recording it, as always. Thanks for listening. Donna Peters, welcome to Leading with Curiosity.
Thank you so much for having me, Nate.
You know, I was just reminding you before we hit record here that I found you as I'm preparing my daily schedule for the International Coach Federation annual conference, which is virtual this year. It'll be my first one. Why don't you just tell the listeners a little bit about what that conference means to you and your role in it this year?
Yeah. So if you're cool, you call it ICF. So 3-letter acronyms, knowing them doesn't make you smart, but not knowing what it is can make you feel a little silly. But we call it ICF, International Coaching Federation. And as you know, it is it's the largest global conference of certified executive coaches across the globe. And it is a chance for thought leaders to come together and share and learn. Leading with Curiosity couldn't be better for the coaching community because that's really what we are at our core, are curious people. We are question askers. And so the fact that this global community can come together to grow and learn from each other, we share stories, we share experiences. Some people are there to absorb, some are there to share, some are doing a combination of both. And for you and me, I think what is so critical about being a part of that community is they force, I'll use that word, it sounds so strong. Mm-hmm. We are forced to stay relevant. We are forced to recertify. We are forced to stay grounded in the principles and the fiduciary responsibility of what it means to be a professional certified executive coach. Mm-hmm. So for me, it is critical to be a part of such a credentialed community because it can be quite a polluted market. Anybody can say I'm a coach. Mm-hmm. So it was very important for me to go through the process to do the certification and then ongoing be part of this community where you're constantly growing and building skills. I'm going to have an opportunity to be a featured speaker for one of the events, which is a segment on how to use podcasting to grow your coaching business. And it's not about go sell your episodes. As you know, podcasts are free. They're a free resource for people. It's not about selling episodes. But what a podcast does for a coach is such a beautiful medium, because it allows the listener and the person exploring coaching to get a sense of who you are. So when I go and I listen to Nate's episodes, I start to feel I know you. I start to understand what you're about, your approach, the way you ask questions, the way you are learning in the moment from your guests on your show. And so podcasting for coaches is such a powerful medium because it allows our potential clients to get a peek into who we are. So by the time they call me and say, hey, Donna, I think I would like your coaching services, they feel like we've already met in a little way. Mm-hmm. And they've assessed fit, because fit is so critical in coaching, as you know. That personal connection and fit is so important. So to me, podcasting has just been an incredible gift of a medium for the coaching world. And I'm going to have a chance to share some of my learnings from podcasting the last several years. I've had a chance for my podcast to be a finalist in a podcast award the last 2 years in a row for Best Business Podcast. And I want to be sharing that with others. So thank you for asking.
Yeah, it's really exciting. And there's a whole bunch I could ask about just from that intro by you. And the first thing that caught my attention is, here we are talking about this ICF, you know what the acronym is, or you don't. Just like people might know what the value a certified coach can provide or not. Many think I'm just going to get a bunch of advice from someone who's, come before me, which we know is not the case. And so just that idea of your podcast, your presentation, helping people explore that in a conference that is helping promote what is coaching around the world. I'm just kind of thinking out loud as I heard your explanation. What do you want people to know that are listening to this about what certified an ICF accredited coach is at its core, at its foundation?
Yeah, I think that an ICF, International Coaching Federation certified coach, at their core is someone who has dedicated themselves to the profession. And all the responsibility that comes with that. Just as a physician or any medical professional is out in the world having to gain what we call CE, continuing education credits, someone who has gone down the path to be a certified executive coach is making that type of professional commitment to the career path. The other thing I think that is so important for anyone assessing a coach, and why I'm so championing of really go see and study the certifications that the coaches that you may be investigating have, is a certified coach is also extremely knowledgeable and practiced. So not just study, they've studied and they've practiced, because we have to have a certain number of hours of coaching experience to be certified, as you know. They aren't just studied and practiced in the field. They have made a commitment to what it means to be a coach. It's not a mentor who tells you what they think you should be doing. A coach is somebody who surfaces in you through their very finessed, trained way of inquiry to help you surface self-limiting beliefs, to help you surface the answer in yourself. And we know from neuroscience that when we do that and help someone find that answer in themselves, the implementation, the execution, the outcome has a greater likelihood of being successful and sticking, and not being something that just lasts for 3 to 5 weeks. So it was extremely important to me when I retired from an executive career. I was a partner at one of the most premier global consulting firms in the world, and it was a fabulous career. I could have started being a coach the very next day by telling people that I was one. But it was extremely important to me to be able to be proud and stand up and say, no, I really am a coach. I got the certification. I know the difference between being a coach and a mentor. They're not the same. I also fully appreciate the difference between a therapist and a coach. They're not the same. And I took it very seriously, had a really, really deep fiduciary responsibility to embody what it really meant to be a coach. And I think that's true of all of us, Nate, all of us that have embraced ICF and are part of that community. That is the future that we want to be a part of. We just take it extremely seriously.
Yes. Well said. I need to listen back to this episode after we're done and borrow some of your crystallized messaging about what it is and what it isn't. That was so well said. Sometimes when clients have a new experience, when I've had the chance to coach them, they'll say something like, oh, that felt kind of like therapy, and I didn't know I'd be, I wasn't sure about talking about myself. And to that, we often say the chance to take dedicated time to explore things that are really important to you, or that you might not have even realized are important to you, is what the space is for. And you just articulated that it's not therapy. And maybe here's, for our listeners, is a good opportunity to say something may surface in a coaching conversation that is beyond our depth, some sort of trauma from the past, and maybe inviting our coachee to explore that and realize that maybe a certain other type of intervention, like therapy, might be the greatest gift that we ever give them. And knowing when to draw the line, and them knowing that we are not there to fix that thing, and give that advice in that moment that we're not trained for. What would you add? I'm sure you've had those conversations with people. What would you like to add to that?
Yeah, I love the way that you said it can almost be a gift sometimes when we help someone realize that they're at a point of needing to take a next step and consult with a therapist. This could be a psychologist, a psychiatrist, but somebody in the mental health profession. I would say about 25% of my clients also have a therapist. They work with a therapist and they work with an executive coach, me. On the executive coaching side, I'm working through things that are career oriented, like pursuing the next big promotion, deciding if I want to change companies or not, working through difficult politics, how to give and receive difficult feedback, things that are more on the career side. But I have had clients, I'll give one example of how I keep my ears and eyes and heart open when I think somebody needs a medical professional. I had a client one time describing to me how when things are very, very busy at work and she's in a new area where she hasn't worked before, which is all very exciting, but it's also what I call terra fun. It can be terrifying and fun at the same time because everything is new, but it's the new promotion and I'm so excited about it. She was using the word anxiety with me. And she made a couple of comments about, wow, that meeting was really stressful. And afterwards, I really think I was having a panic attack. And she said it kind of fun and kind of giggled. And then we moved on a couple of minutes into the conversation. And then she used the word anxious. And so I just started to pick up on her vocabulary. And I said, can we stop just for a moment? I really want to understand these words that you're using. Were you just being flippant when you said that you thought you were having a panic attack? Or were you seriously having a physical response where your heart was racing, your breath was shallow, you felt the walls were closing in? What did you mean when you said panic attack? Because when she said it, she kind of giggled. But no, she was having a physical body response to something, which I suspected was probably a medical definition of a panic attack. So she did take a next step to consult with a medical professional, and she did decide to launch into, I don't know how many sessions she will have. That will be between her and her medical professional. But she did go investigate. Maybe this is something that I need to continue to think about. And that's the same way I feel about coaching. I often say to somebody, if you're thinking about it, why don't you step into it for 3 or 4 rounds just to see if it's what you need? And it may be that she now has started, a longer term relationship with a medical professional, a mental health professional, but we'll continue to work together. So just one example. Of how coaches like you and me are very tuned into what is said and what isn't said. Trying to identify those moments.
I'd love to hear another example and different from that one. You are self-professed retired. It sounded like you had a hard time using that word, and it's made you laugh again.
That is funny.
Because here we are on this call. But you mentioned some of your clients also in that career transition. Share with us an example, if I can put you on this spot, of a time when a senior executive, someone that had a significant career in a certain area, and coaching helped them shift, find those values, realize they needed to course correct or start that new chapter. Can you think of an example of that?
Yeah. I use the word retire with a lot of my clients. I call it retiring as in get new tires. So,
Okay.
so while I
Haven't heard that before.
I technically did retire from a firm where I had been for about 20 years. So I am technically a retiree, but I'm working full time.
Retiring. I've never heard that. I love that. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, I do work full time now as an executive coach. So most people in my practice are seeking executive coaching because they are at what I call a moment that matters. Mm. And that moment that matters is sometimes proactive, it's sometimes reactive. During the pandemic, the reactive is people being laid off, for example. Proactive might be that somebody is deciding to maybe go back to school or completely change careers, or maybe they've met the highest they can meet in their particular area and they want to jump and go do something with a higher sense of purpose, like be on a not-for-profit board or be on a corporate board, a paid board position, but for a cause that they're really passionate about. Mm-hmm. So usually I'm working with, they're not always the most senior executives in the world. I call them leaders, but I believe leadership is a mindset. It's not an org chart. Mm-hmm. What unifies my clients is they're all career driven, regardless of their level. Mm-hmm. But career plays an extremely important role in their life. So if somebody comes to me, most of the crossroads are like that. They're either, I don't know if I should step out into a completely different company. Maybe I have to because I've been fired, laid off. Maybe they're having a significant family change in their life and they're trying to decide, do I follow my partner's job? Does my partner follow my job? Maybe the partners are splitting. It could be any moment that matters that has a significant impact on career and the role that you want work to play in your life. And so I'm usually coaching around the concept of what are your options? Because if we have options, we feel that we're in control. And again, we know from neuroscience that the sense of feeling in control is extremely important. When we're not in control, the brain fires in very negative ways. And so I like to help people identify their options. Only they can make the final decision of which they choose. But I like to help people identify options. What are my options for the next best step for me? Because options give you the right, but not the obligation to make a change. Mm-hmm. And that's what I have built. I guess I don't have any tattoos yet, Nate, but if I get a tattoo, it is going to say options are power. I so fundamentally believe if we could be doing that alone, that maybe that'll be my legacy, is for somebody to say to me that Donna helped illuminate my options. That to me would be the greatest compliment.
Well, I'm always looking for the title of the podcast episode in the conversation. And if it's not going to be a tattoo, we could maybe start with it as at least the title. That moment that matters is the other one. But I love when they start to emerge from these conversations as when talking to coaches, you never know where these conversations are going to go. And
that's so true.
Every time it's been to a great place. Management consultant, you were a partner in a consulting firm for a long time.
Yeah.
I get asked that often. What's the difference between consultant and coach? And I'm curious.
Oh, interesting.
And I'm curious what role coaches, certified coaches, maybe could play in consulting firms that maybe they currently don't, or maybe they do. I'm not aware of it, but let's just explore your experience as a consultant. Yeah. Giving answers, providing solutions potentially to letting go of that and taking that weight off our shoulders to have the answers for people. And if what I've said isn't landing right on consultant, I'd love to hear.
It makes perfect sense. So the way I would describe consultant to my grandmother when she was always wondering, what the heck does Donna do? I just know she's on an airplane all the time. Mm-hmm. I would tell my grandmother that I was a business doctor. Okay. So we go in and we help companies figure out how to grow into new things and how to fix broken things. Mm-hmm. So at its core, I think that's what a consultant is. Coaches are really, really valuable in consulting in two ways, and they kind of serve as consultants in two ways. One of them is coaches work directly with the leaders in a firm, and that's more of like a private one-on-one confidential coaching relationship, as we would have with any client who is working with us one-on-one. Mm-hmm. But also coaches often work with a collective group of leadership team members, and they're coaching on things like team dynamics or dysfunctional decision-making, and coaching on things like how do we as a leadership team set the behaviors and the culture. I define leadership in two ways. I believe leaders only do two things. Leaders sense and signal. They sense what is needed in the market with the customers and their own employees and people, and they signal the core values and what the company is about. And that's really all leaders do. They're sensing and signaling. They're sensing and signaling and making tough decisions. And so often coaches are brought in to be coaches to a group of leaders rather than one-on-one, if the team dynamic would benefit from healthier decision-making, more clarity on the direction you're headed. In that scenario, what really differentiates a coach from a consultant is a consultant tends to go away into a cave and do research and come out and say, I recommend you consider A, B, and C. And oh, by the way, B is my recommendation. Yeah, and then the clients take B or not B. Yeah. But a coach will only give the options of, I think it's A, B, and C with the client's permission. Because a coach is not a consultant and the coach is not a mentor unless they have asked your permission to be so.
Yeah.
Does this make sense?
Absolutely. And what I'm burning to ask is how you've seen the consulting world change in the last 20 years then, as it pertains to how much coaching has evolved in the last 20 years.
Okay. My favorite question. I have a chicken skin on my arm. That's goosebumps here. Okay. Anybody can see it. Here's why I love this question. There was a time when you would whisper if you had a coach, because you only got coaches when you were a performance problem. Yeah. And you would only get a coach. A coach would be assigned to you if you were on some kind of a performance improvement plan. And it often meant that the organization you were in didn't fully have the guts to say to your face what you needed to hear to improve. And they were hiring a third-party coach to go give you the tough feedback and play the heavy. This has changed significantly in about the last 8 or 10 years that I have seen, where now coaching is more considered an employee benefit and an outward show and evidence that I'm investing in you, Nate. I'm investing in you, Donna, by giving you a coach because I see you have such future potential. And that is such a fundamental mindset shift. It is just so magical and so wonderful, because in every other field on the planet, the higher you are performing and the more elite you are at your field, the more coaches you have. Yeah. You know, professional musicians, professional athletes, the better they are at their craft, the more coaches they have. And for the longest time, business was the opposite. Yeah. You only had a coach if you were a problem. Yeah. This has changed so much, and I am so thrilled about it. It's now a badge of honor to say that I'm working with a coach. And that is the biggest shift that I've seen in coaching in what I would call a traditional executive business environment, corporate environment in the last probably 8 or 10 years.
Oh, that is, you said the words to come in and play the heavy. Imagine in our ICF coach training, if someone told us you're going to have to go in and play the heavy, we need backbone. We need to coach with backbone and heart, of course, but to come in and where now we hold people capable of achieving things beyond what they even currently comprehend. That is a complete paradigm shift. Yeah. I spoke with an old friend this morning who has been a client and just said the words, I would love to offer this opportunity to a woman on our team who's coming back off of mat leave and is so important to this organization. And she's excited about the opportunity.
That's right.
If I heard you right, those words.
Yes. Opportunity
And excited and support.
Right.
And,
yeah.
That's,
it's an outward show that I'm valued.
Yeah.
If I'm the employee being offered coaching, it's an outward show that I'm being valued.
Yeah.
Right. I had an opportunity in my work when I was not yet a partner. I hadn't made partner yet. And I was given the opportunity to either go to this 1-week course at a very premier university in the United States that I'll leave anonymous. I could go to this 1-week class, or I could get 1 whole year of coaching, which was basically 12 sessions, like 1 a month, right? Or I could have this 1 a month executive coach. All of my peers took the 1 week at the premier institution so that they could put it on their resume. That I went to the 1 week certification, blah, 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 at such and such a school. And it was a very premier institution. I took the coaching. I was the only one who took the coaching. And I don't know why. I don't know if I was just having a premonition about the value it would bring, or if I was just trying to be different to be different. Yeah. I'm not sure, but it changed everything for me.
I tell you, it sounds like it was a moment that has mattered.
It was a moment that matters. Look at you. There you go. Perfect. Yeah. That was a moment that mattered for me. That's exactly right.
Yeah. To have a coach along the journey to help create behavioral shifts, mindset changes, all the things that coaching can do that do not happen overnight. I'm a big believer in all sorts of education. I'm a lifelong learner, but to compare those two side by side is a worthy process, right? And for you, like, the week-long program might have been great for someone, and it's not a but. And
that's right. And
for you, how meaningful was that? Was that annual access to someone that could be there for you?
You just made me think of something I hadn't thought of until now. Well, I think one of the reasons I took the coaching was everything at work was so team-based and collaborative, which is fabulous. But in my mind, I was thinking that 1 week course would be yet more teamwork, yet with the same people that I've always been working with. And that could have been a really nice little, offsite with some fun dinners and things. But I really thought that a private moment, some sort of private focus, would be really valuable to ask questions that you don't want to ask in front of other people, to show vulnerabilities that you don't want to show anybody else you have. I get women in my, I coach both men and women. I get women in my practice several times who will say to me, I know I'm up for the next big promotion. I'm just not sure I even want it. And it's not something they would ever say in the workplace itself, but they can explore with an executive coach. Why are you thinking you may not want the promotion? Is it more that you think you can't do it? Or is it more that you think you will have a worse impact on your work-life integration? What is behind this I don't think I want it comment? What if you just got it and then turned it down later? Those are the types of things that we explore, that had I gone off to 1 week at that institution, I would never have had an opportunity to roll around in things like that you really only feel comfortable exploring in a private, confidential, supportive relationship.
Was helping facilitate a leadership development program, which I just absolutely love. And in the coaching, as we're teaching, just dipping their feet in what it means to lead like a coach, rather than a army sergeant. A woman said, I get it that I need to show up for my team. I get it that I need to be there. I get it that I need to coach them. Who's going to be there for me? She said.
Okay.
And and to that I responded, what would ongoing coaching look like to you if you could have that person in your corner?
Right.
Which was my polite way of saying that's what a coach can do, right?
That's exactly right. Coaches need coaches.
Yeah.
Coaches have coaches. And actually, your listeners might be interested to know this, that as part of our certification with the International Coaching Federation, we have to ourselves not just have hours as a coach, we have to continue to practice with coaches more experienced even than ourselves.
Yes.
So it's that you're constantly working on your craft, and staying relevant. And again, that's just another endorsement for why I think it's so critical to find a certified coach.
In my coach training, someone suggested, don't trust a coach who doesn't have a coach.
Oh yeah. Love that. Yes. Right.
Yeah.
You're like, don't trust an Olympian who doesn't have a coach.
Yes. Yeah.
If you want to perform at the elite level of anything, you'd have a coach.
You may or may not know this. My first career was as a professional athlete, as a professional hockey player for many years, and then in the sport development and sport coaching world for almost 20, and now in leadership and executive coaching. And the shift that I've seen in my own paradigm of what it truly means to coach children too, or coach high performance athletes at any age of what if we mind what they already know and invited them to explore what might be next in their own journey of improvement and performance enhancement. Whereas as a young sports coach, I spent well over a decade thinking, well, I played pro. I'm the one that has the answers for all of these kids and these volunteer coaches. So it's been a complete shift for me. And every time I say it, I notice how much weight's on my shoulders, a heck of a lot less than there was before. When as a leader, we can give up needing to have the answers. So it's that's how coaching shows up now in my own life, as well as those that I get to serve.
I would love to see, well, I'll just ask you directly. Do you find that, have you always in your life had this very positive image of coaching, whether it's with sports or with executive coaching, because of the way you grew up and performing at such a high level where coaches are surrounding you all the time?
We need an entire episode for that. The short version is I have a small handful of coaches who inspired me, and teachers. I put them in the same category. I did grow up in a house of teachers and professional coaches. So my own mom and dad are inspirations there, and their network of like-minded people. I also catch myself all the time in my sport development company having this adverse relationship with sport coaching, and at the professional ranks or the high performance ranks, or even at the youth sport ranks, where coaches are going to win at all cost, and the bodies they've left in the road along the way. So I have, and through this process of executive coaching, I've been able to delineate those two. But like many pro athletes, my career didn't end when I thought it would or how I thought it would. And so you're left with all these like real moments of, this isn't all sunshine and roses and it looks glamorous on TV, and a lot of it is not. And I would go as far as to say there were times that I hated hockey because of those relationships.
I bet.
And so it just reminds me of the influence that we have in this seat that we're in, whether it's with an organizational leader or a team we lead in a company, or as a coach in the sporting world. So the answer is I have all sorts of memories and relationships, none all sunshine and roses.
Yeah. But interesting. You have an insight that the role you're in, you have a tremendous amount of responsibility. It's an awesome responsibility to be coaching someone about their future.
Yes.
And
absolutely.
You appreciate that probably better than others.
And for even in the sport development world, I've always considered myself a social entrepreneur. Like the thing I get to sell, whether it's a camp or a service or a facilitation, I can talk about values. You lead with your 3 values all the time. I can put my head on the pillow every night and my feet on the floor every morning, knowing that I'm adding value to the world by being in service of others. And maybe I could have a bigger house if I sold more useless stuff, but I'm just going to keep selling really valuable stuff and of value to the receiver of that, right?
Right, right.
And I'll forever be grateful for that opportunity. So that's kind of where I'm at with it right
Yeah.
now.
Yeah. Yeah. It is amazing when you have those moments when the coaching clients come back to you and tell you about some success they've had or the big job offer they received or how they're just feeling so much more confident in their skin.
Yeah.
I'm sure you've had many of those moments.
And just recently, where it's starting to be like, can I take this to my personal life with my partner? Like, is that okay? And, to that, we say we bring our whole selves to work and we bring our whole selves home. It's the same brain going to and from and re-engaging. Hey, I could really use, we're not trying to create a dependence where they rely on their coach, but where we come in and out of their life at the right time to be of value in a way that can make all the difference. And another client who was really skeptical, admittedly, and then we got into it, and now it's just non-negotiable. Like this makes a difference, right?
Where have you been all my life?
Kind of a thing. Those things that's the most rewarding part of it, really. And I'm data driven. I work with an organization called Supporting Lines Institute, where we can really measure those elements of high performance leadership and assess, from day one working with a group of leaders through the one-on-one coaching process to how their teams are doing a year later. It's a human experience, this coaching thing, but to be able to measure that human experience and not make those recommendations, here's what you need to do, but here's what the data is saying, what story does it tell you?
Right.
And being able to kind of unpack and see the positive shifts, helping people have a better human experience at work, which is really what it needs to be about, right?
Yeah. I thinking about my community of coaches, and I would have to say the ones that I learn the most from and have the most respect for, just in the way that they approach their craft and area of expertise, they have data-driven minds. They're in the service of outcomes. Measuring outcomes rather than what can too often be in coaching is something a little squishy. If that's the technical term.
It's not, but I get it.
So again, why I had personally migrated to this more ICF side of coaching, just to be focused on value.
Donna, I know that I need to have you on again in my next season of podcasts. I also know that we like to keep things to about half an hour here at Leading with Curiosity. And I just love how I'm going to play this back, and the conversation shifted and the coach started asking the coach or the host questions, which is exactly. No, it's great. We didn't know where it would lead. And it just felt so natural, and I get why you're crushing it at what you're doing. So congratulations for all your success. And I would love for you to just share with my listeners where they might grab onto the things that you're up to, maybe when you're speaking at ICF, and where they can find you on whatever channels you feel appropriate.
Yeah, wonderful. So my coaching practice is called the Me Suite. It's a play on C-suite. And the whole concept is we need to lead our own personal lives the way C-suites would lead the companies that we most admire. It's the-me-suite.com. That's also the name of my podcast, where I do interview-based with C-suite leaders about how they lead their own lives with a me-suite mindset. So would be happy for anybody to go out and listen to that. And I also, in January of 2022, my book launches, and a lot of it is based on research from the podcast, interviewing leaders about core values, interviewing leaders about leading with a me-suite mindset. So hopefully I'll have some data in there for you. Since you're data-driven, you might appreciate that. And that'll come out in January, and it's called Options or Power, hence the tattoo.
Okay.
I'm on my way. Yeah.
Hey, this might come out after you speak at ICF. So why don't you tell people a little bit more about the ICF, and if that's caught some attention of some of the leaders, the Converge and just tie a bow around that side of the conversation that we had.
So the International Coaching Federation Global Conference has a theme. The name of the global conference is Converge. and it's Converge 2021. And it is occurring the last week of October. And there are multiple topics and guests. They're from all over the world on all kinds of things. And I'll be speaking on October the 27th about podcasting for your coaching practice. But I encourage anybody interested to check out the entire library. There is something there for everybody that's in the coaching field.
Donna Peters from the Me Sweet Mindset. Thank you very much for your time. It was a pleasure, and I'll see you again on this channel sometime in the future.
A real treat. Thank you, Nate.
Thanks for listening to Leading with Curiosity. Please share, follow, and rate the show so that other leaders can make positive change in the world. Connect with Nate at nateleslie.ca. And remember, the brain behaves very differently when encouraged to think rather than told to listen.